Have you ever wondered what it would be like to see the world through the eyes of Sherlock Holmes? Well, today we're going to crack open the toolkit that made him a legendary detective, and you might be surprised how you can use these exact same tools yourself. I mean, really think about that. What if you could look at a scene you've passed 1,000 times and suddenly spot the one crucial detail that no one else has? This isn't some superpower, you know? It's a skill, and it's the absolute foundation of how Sherlock Holmes thought. This one line. This is the whole game right here. It's the difference between just letting the world wash over you and actually engaging with it. It's the difference between light hitting your eyeballs and your brain actually asking, wait a minute, what am I really looking at? So let's dive into the very first tool in our toolkit, observation. And let's be clear, this has nothing to do with having 20/20 vision. It's all about learning how to use your mind differently. This is the bedrock of everything else we're going to talk about. So what did Holmes actually mean by this? Well, seeing is passive. It's automatic. You register a staircase, you see a face in the crowd, you notice a busy street. It just happens. But observing? That's a whole different animal. That's an active choice. It means you're asking questions. How many steps are there? What's the real emotion on that person's face? What do the shops on this street tell me about the people who live here? You know, there's this classic story where Holmes totally schools his friend Dr. Watson about the very steps they climbed every single day to their apartment at 221B Baker Street. Watson had seen them thousands of times, but when Holmes casually asked him how many there were, Watson had no idea. 17. Just think about that. Such a tiny, almost useless detail, right? But Holmes knew it because he made a conscious choice to pay attention to his surroundings. And that's a perfect reminder that observation isn't some magical gift you're born with. Nope, it's a habit. It's a muscle you can train. Okay, so you've made your observations, you've gathered all these little details. Now what? How do you turn that raw information into one of those brilliant aha moments? Well, Holmes operated by a set of what I like to call golden rules that kept his thinking laser-focused. This was his number one rule, the big one. Do not, and I mean do not, come up with a theory before you have the data. It's so tempting, right? We get an idea in our head, and then we start looking for little pieces of evidence that prove us right, ignoring everything else. Holmes did the exact opposite. He gathered the facts first and let the facts build a theory for him. It's the ultimate weapon against your own biases. So you can really boil his method down into 3 key steps. First, get obsessed with the details. Holmes was convinced that the smallest things, the stuff everyone else walks right past, are where the real answers are hiding. Second, you've got to learn to love the weird stuff. Most of us get confused by something bizarre, but to Holmes it was a gift. A really strange event usually has a very specific cause. And third, and this is so important, question what seems obvious, because an obvious fact can often be the most misleading clue of all. So what does this toolkit look like when you actually put it to the test? Let's take a look at one of Holmes' most peculiar cases. It's a great one, called the Red-Headed League. I mean, just listen to that question. It sounds completely bonkers, right? Like the setup to a bad joke. But remember Holmes's rule. The more bizarre something is, the more information it contains. This totally absurd job is basically a giant, flashing neon sign pointing directly at the truth. Okay, so these are the basic facts. A pawnbroker gets this ridiculous but well-paying gig. His assistant is suspiciously happy to work for peanuts. The whole thing seems designed to be a funny story, a distraction. But Sherlock Holmes, he's not interested in the joke. He's looking for the details that just don't add up. And this is where the magic happens. Holmes completely ignores the Red-Headed League smokescreen and focuses on what's really out of place. Why would an assistant work for half pay? Simple. He must be after something way more valuable than his salary. Then Holmes observes the man's trousers. The knees are worn out and stained with dirt. He's been digging. And the final piece of the puzzle? The pawn shop just so happens to be right next door to a bank. And boom! Suddenly it all snaps into place. The ridiculous job was just a brilliant excuse to get the pawnbroker out of the building for a few hours every day. The assistant's low wage was a tiny price to pay for access to the shop's cellar. And those dirty trousers were the physical evidence of his work. The whole bizarre story was just a clever cover for a good old-fashioned bank heist. Just like Holmes himself said, once you strip away all the distracting noise and just look at the data, the solution becomes, well, obvious. The real goal was simple. Get the man out of the house. The strange story wasn't the mystery, It was the clue that unraveled the whole thing. So, how can we actually use this toolkit in our own lives? Look, we're probably not going to be solving any elaborate bank robberies, but this way of thinking can help us approach any problem at work, in our relationships, you name it, with a much clearer, more effective mindset. This right here might be the most important lesson of all. Sherlock's real genius wasn't just in solving wild crimes. It was his amazing ability to look at the ordinary, everyday world, the commonplace, and see that it was packed with mysteries and clues. He found the extraordinary hiding in the mundane. So, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge, your own Baker Street assignment. It doesn't have to be a flight of stairs. It could be the route you take to work, the way a colleague talks about a new project, or the design of your favorite coffee cup. Just pick one thing, and instead of just seeing it, make a choice to truly observe it. You'll be amazed at what you discover.